Well, thank you for doing this. Appreciate you being here, giving us a little bit of your time. I know you're a busy person, and from what little bit I know about you, it seems that you're an actress. You're into music now. You're writing. It seems like you just wear a ton of hats. Has that just always been part of your life? That's been the type of
Mhm.
person you are.
Yeah. Yeah. And primarily why? Maybe because we're all very primal beings and we get domesticated at a very young age. And, the people want the best for us and they're like, oh, focus on one thing. But I was really interested in a lot of different things. And um, I remember seeing how other people were in their 9 to 5s or in their traditional, routines and not very fulfilled, not very happy. So it's like, why am I going to listen to these people who do not look happy when I know my destiny and what I want and I want to go for it all because I rather go for it all and explore all these things that make me tingle and that excite me than to reflect back when I'm older and have regrets that I didn't try certain things because I listened to someone else outside of me instead of listening to my own self. Then I knew later on I would just, be hard on myself for not listening to myself. So that's what I chose to do at a young age, which led me to doing a lot of different things instead of just one thing.
Hmm. Do you find yourself leaning towards, more of the acting or more of the writing, or do you just like to kind of dabble here and there just whenever the creativity or influence is hitting you? How do you kind of judge your time with all that?
Well, I do not like to judge my time, right? But I do put it in rotation
Okay.
and go with the flow. I sowed seeds. I look at it as like a garden and I sowed seeds and then like I nourish them, I check in, I nourish them and check in. And after 3 months, I'll kind of reflect and look like what's working, what's not working, right? With the actions that I'm taking, the people I'm surrounding myself with, what do I need more of? What do I need less of? But right now, and so dabbling, sure, success is measured, right?
Hmm.
And so with the over 2 decades of experience I've had with my career thus far, I feel like, "Oh, I really win for everything." I, did great brush strokes and had a lot of great splashes. And now during the great blow up of the world, right? I was able to self-reflect and say, "What do I wanna do for the next 2 decades of my life and career?" Um, and so I am now focusing on being a household name in TV and film. I've been successful in those things, but I also did the other things you mentioned and now I love podcasting, voiceovers, and acting, and they all go hand in hand with my instrument, which is my voice,
Hmm.
right? Voiceovers is acting the craft of acting. And also, like, voiceovers can be on podcasts and sharing who I am as a human, as an artist, representing my actor, because nowadays it's like brands and directors, producers, they want to work with the person, they want to know the personality of the person, what they stand for, who they are, and maybe they align to that movie or this TV show, right? With social media and everything. So my number one thing is acting. And so I'm really excited to focus on just those things so I could, God willing, like have a family in the near future.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about the acting a little bit later, especially when I know you've worked with De Niro and Pacino, but the voiceover acting stuff is, I'm kind of curious about just because is that just tough to do just because are you just reading from a script in front of a microphone and just trying to in your head say, all right, this is what the character is going to be like in my head rather than just actually being there playing it out yourself in body? I hope that kind of makes sense what I'm trying to ask.
I have coaches I work with. I
Okay.
don't try to do anything. I make choices before I go onto the mic and before I get on with my coach. I do my work. I make choices about the character. I break down the script, the tone of the show. Is it for Disney, animation, Nickelodeon? Is it a promo?
Mhm.
Is it a movie? Is it a TV show? Is it a comedy? Like, is it a video game, a commercial? Like, what's the vibe? So you have to know the craft of acting. And then, there's a psychological aspect, the technical aspect where a lot of voiceover actors, can record anywhere in the world now, ever since, what happened in 2020. And so, um, I focus on the craft of the acting, and then I I make my choices and I go for it. And if I read it and it's up not if not like vibing with it, then
Mhm.
I'll pass on it and I won't do it because I don't want to waste my time or my team's time, and they trust me and I trust them. So when they send me something, I trust that they think I could be right for it. And if they send me something and I don't do it, then they trust me that maybe I know that it's going to go to someone who like really has a French accent or who really has like an authentic um accent from London, a British accent, So being knowing thyself and being true to your core
Yeah.
is really important. And like a lot of people in theater, when the theater closed down, they started doing voiceovers. And when the world closed down, a lot of people, the podcasting, the spike, went so high. So,
Sure.
yeah, I coach people with voiceovers. Everyone's at different areas. Did I answer your question specifically, or did you
Yeah,
want? Okay.
yeah. I mean, that's what I was asking, and then just I had a follow up question with that. Was just that when you are getting into that character and you're vibing with it or whatever, is there a lot of leeway with the script? I mean, can you say that, oh, hey, I think the character would actually say it this way rather than how the writers actually wrote it in the script? I mean,
Okay. So, um, oh yeah, and so from what you said initially, with acting on screen, prepare, be off book. But when you're doing voiceovers, I have an iPad. I have a studio, I have a stand, I have my iPad where you can you make your choices, the character, but you don't have to memorize it. You can look at the iPad while I'm recording, right? While I'm recording, I can look at my iPad and see what's going on. You don't read it, but you're able to grab it from the screen, which makes it so much fun to do voiceovers. And literally, like you'll get something and they're like, it's a rush, it's due in 2 hours. Or you have, most of the time it's a 24-hour turnaround, 48-hour turnaround. So that was that question. But what was the other one too? I wanted to make sure I answered that last question you had.
just that. I guess it's kind of what I just said. Like, how did you actually get into voice acting, and what was your crap? I don't really remember what was the first question. How did you get into it, and just that. Um, shit, I don't even remember what it was.
Yeah.
I forgot
Yeah.
too. I was
Yeah.
probably listening to what you were saying before that, so don't worry about it. We can move on from there.
No, I've had a day. No, but I wanna definitely what did you just say though?
The last question? That was
How did I get involved? How did I get
yeah,
involved
yeah,
with
with the
voiceovers? Okay. Oh
yeah.
my gosh. Wow. Okay. So I was in Michigan and I booked a commercial, a pizza commercial, and I played this 14-year-old girl. And while I was on set, the producer and the director, the client, whoever, they're like, "Oh my God, like we love your voice. You'll be perfect for the voiceover." I didn't even know what voiceovers were. And they used fax machines back then. So they like faxed in a contract to my agent while I was on set. I was sitting at the kitchen table where we did the pizza commercial, and they put in the boom mic from doing an on-set commercial. They bring in the boom mic, and they had me do it right then and there. I wasn't in a professional studio or anything right there. I was right there in an open house, quiet on set, quiet. They listen for noise. Okay. And then they had me say the lines. So that's how I booked my first voiceover commercial before I even went to Hollywood. And then when I went to Hollywood, a lot of times the voiceover department is with the commercial department. So there's legit, which is TV and film, representing
Mhm.
someone for on screen TV and film, which is very different from being booked for having an agent for commercials that you see on TV, and then having a voiceover agent who will book you on animations, promos, things of that nature. So there are all these different departments. So I can be represented by an agency for commercials, and then they don't represent me for voiceovers or for TV and film, right? The
Okay,
voiceover agency I'm with in Los Angeles, they only do voiceovers. They're one of the top agencies in the world, and they specifically focus on voiceovers, right?
sure.
Um, yeah, but like the commercial agency I'm with in LA, I'm not with them, for TV and film. So it's a lot of research and a lot of not only research but your craft. So when you do go into these kind of things, you have to be prepared, mind, body, spirit, soul.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just like you said, you craft and you put, what is it? You put 10,000 hours in to try to become a master of whatever that craft you plan on wanting to pursue.
Right.
And it sounds like you found this, your craft at a young age, I mean, a lot
Yeah.
of people can't say that. And
Yeah. Yeah.
that's bold. I like that, just that, because I always feel like that I haven't found my craft yet or my passion yet. But
Really? I feel like from just observing, you're living it right now, you
well,
know?
yeah, I started this right during the pandemic, like when you were just talking about, and I thought I wanted to take a leap of faith and try something. And just because I've always liked listening to podcasts, I always get something out of them. So this was like the first, I'm hitting 36 this year. And this is the first thing I feel like I've ever really done. Like I said, I actually took a step out, that I actually put myself out there and try something and get out of my comfort zone. And I don't
Well,
know. Yeah.
congratulations. You're such
Thank
a
you.
leader for yourself, your family, your friends, and other people because it's independent. You did something for yourself because you wanted to. And it wasn't about the money, although it's cool to make money and become this big
Mm.
podcaster. But like you're just naturally in your zone. And you said like you listen to podcasts and you get something out of it. And like now your heart wants to do that for others. And, like I'm like you, like I'm in season 4 of my podcast. And when I was in season 3, I'm like, what is season 4 going to be about? I have a theme for every season. And I'm like, women empowerment, because I've always, had that thing where I looked to men when I was older, in business. And I had, like, I wasn't connected with divine femininity, like females, quote unquote, and nourishing those relationships. I had a lot of dudes around me all the time, right? One wanting to get with me, or just like wanting to be around me, or whatever. Just like guys like being around like hot girls or whatever. Who knows? Like all that stuff. But you're like, yeah, it's pretty normal, yeah. But yeah, so that's all gravy and stuff. Um, but for me, also, I felt like there was a lack of nourishment and those kind of things. So I wanted to have a women empowerment series so I could not only empower other female identifying humans, non-binary humans, exploring gender and all, or exploring divine femininity in all genders. But I had questions about it. And so while I was interested in the topic, I thought other people would be interested in as well. And so I wanted to empower myself through this journey while I'm empowering others and making new friends. And so it's been a self-discovery. I'm on like my 5th episode of season 4.
Nice.
And so it's a process and it's a journey. Also, I feel like, in life we have multiple purposes, not just one, right? And sometimes we might not understand like different purposes and stuff. And then I don't know, maybe sometimes we do. So when I was young, you mentioned like bold and finding my stuff earlier on. Well, my Greek roots, you just use what you got. Like I had Greek roots. I was in the Greek Orthodox Church. I read Socrates and Plato and Aristotle. Like I read poets. I was surrounded with Greek mythology and everything was like fantasy and dragons and goddesses. And so it gave me this curiosity to play and let my imagination wander. And so those were my gifts. And I just saw what I was given at a young age. And no matter our circumstances, I feel like we're all gifted those gifts. It's just whether we receive them as gifts or we dismantle them and just not appreciate them because it's, like the back of my hand, everyone has one. Oh, we all have a hand. So a lot of people dismiss their gifts, right? And so I like to check in with myself and I like to check in, more than time to time because we become, so comfortable with ourselves. And it's really important to honor and respect the gifts that we have now and the gratitude of where we are so we can definitely receive more.
I want to circle back a little bit. And you were talking about women empowerment. And if you don't want to answer this, I perfectly get it. But, with Harvey Weinstein and just that whole thing of what he was doing in Hollywood, is that kind of, I don't want to say it's a toxic environment because I know it's kind of just a base to base situation for every actor and actresses. But I mean, is that kind of just the narrative for the most part in Hollywood, or is it just case by case, like I said?
I mean, it's such a empowering topic that you brought up. Honestly, I'm bi-coastal, LA and New York since like 2012.
Okay.
And so I had to go to LA in 2014, I think it was. It was in the end of 2014. I had to go. Should I stop for a second?
No, my dog has his ball, and
Oh, it's so
Uh,
cute. I like natural noises. What's his name?
oh, Rocky, hold on. Let me
Hey,
grab my ball.
Rocky. Hey. Cool, cool. All right. So yeah, to answer your question, yeah, no, I find it very empowering. You're the first person who I think who has asked me this kind of question. But when I was in New York City and I had to go to was living in New York and I had to go to LA and at the end of 2014 for a while. And while I was there, it was so difficult to be there. And I had a partner with me at the time who came with me, which is the only reason why I could be in LA because of his raw energy, the love. We did music together and just like who he was, like just it was very like New York. Like I was bringing New York with me because LA was very difficult to be in. I'm very, very energy sensitive. And so I was very aware of the vibes and the energy in LA. And it was very difficult to be there during that time. Um, I had to be there like end of 2014 through 2018 consistently. And just the energies were just like so like not good, right? And like all that stuff came out and I wasn't surprised, but when that stuff came out, like people already knew. Like people knew it was going on for a long time.
Yeah.
But everyone wants to stay employed and they don't want to lose their job and they're scared and they don't want, you know what I mean? People were like feared. So I'm so happy, people who came forth and spoke out and I mean there's still a lot of them out there, there's so many and they'll continue to be taken down and some won't. And even with what's happened, people know like what's going on and stuff still goes on and some people like it just it slides by. But yeah, no, I have a pretty disgusting story. It's a pretty disgusting story. You'll be like the first to hear it. It's really
Okay, great.
gross.
If you're comfortable sharing it, you
I
don't.
don't know. I mean, if you're making like a 30-second promo highlight clip, I wouldn't, but
I usually don't make promos. I just usually just throw something on the Instagram. So
kind of gross. It's kind of gross.
it's up to you.
It's kind of gross. It's kind of gross, but it like really, really happened.
Okay. Well, if you want to share it, go ahead. But if not, don't worry about it.
I don't know.
It's up to you. Whatever makes you comfortable.
It's kind of gross.
I mean, I'm okay with stuff like that, but
yeah.
I mean, but it's up. I'm leaving it up to you.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me see. Hold on. Let me energy test it. I just ate, so I'm like, maybe that's like I shouldn't. Yeah. I've never met him personally. I just saw him one time at the Ivy when I was having dinner. He was there with his wife at the time.
Okay.
And he was there in a different booth. Not the Ivy, I'm sorry. The Waverly Inn in New York. Okay. I just saw him one time, but I've never had like a personal interaction like that with him. That wasn't the story I was going to tell. It's a different story, but I don't know. I guess I won't go there right now.
Okay. That's okay. Don't worry about it. Well, I mean, so, when you watch movies and stuff and it's always about, a girl or the guy leaving the country town, trying to get to make it big in Hollywood or New York or whatever. Is that just, they try to do everything they can, scrimp, save, work odd jobs just to try to make it in that industry. And is that all just, and like you said, they're scared to lose jobs. They were scared to probably not do, whatever, like, for example, whatever Harvey says, just because they know this is their probably only shot. And is that just because they know that if they don't do something, they'll probably end up not getting their goals or whatever they wanted to set out to accomplish, and they'll end up having to move back to that country town? And
well, honestly, it could be so many different reasons. It depends, on the person and their, emotional circumstances and how they were raised and their boundaries. Yeah. And everyone has insecurities. Everyone has shame and fear. And we have all these things where we don't put ourselves first, or we go into fight and flight and we get numb and we freeze and we don't say anything. And like the moment passes and you're like, oh my God, if that ever happened again, or you're like, oh my God, well, if this were ever happened to me, I'm going to do this. But then when actually that happens to you, you don't do it because you freeze. And like, you just you lose everything. Your prefrontal cortex just like shuts down, Yeah. It's just because we're just such emotional beings that where like our nervous system could get like jacked up. So I'm not a psychologist or a doctor or whatever, but just, speaking from experience, I know like, a lot of people feel very shameful about putting themselves first, you know? So, and a lot of people at a young age, get treated a certain way. So let's say your parents treat you a certain way, then you go out into the world and you allow other people to treat you the way your parents treated you. Well, how did they treat you? If they treated you with boundaries, assertiveness, respect, things like that, then people in the world are going to treat you that way because that's the only relationship, that's the only like boundary you're going to take, right? But if they were mentally abusive towards you, you know, maybe you'll be around other people and when they're mentally abusive to you or saying meaningful things, you don't even identify it as it being mean because you're just used to that, right?
Yeah. So, I like what you said that people are scared or ashamed to put themselves first. I wouldn't think that. I mean, I think that's just a generalization, but I think it's just, because I've met a lot of people who think they have to be the alpha person in every situation they go into. And it's just like, hey man, you don't actually have to, you don't have to talk, dude. Just nobody cares, and it's just the end. But
It's
they
a
think that, they don't,
sorry.
no, you're fine. They're having a, not watch out for them. They only want to watch out for themselves. And they, I guess, feel like they are watching out for everybody around them, but it's kind of like, yeah, but still in the end, you're still kind of still doing
Well,
your own thing and making sure you're the number one.
Well, it's insecurity. It's being defensive. Like if one feels they have to be the alpha to protect, they have to watch out for themselves and they're watching out for the people around them, like they're being very defensive because they feel like they have to, right?
Yeah.
So then when you're feeling you have to and you're being that, other people pick up on that energy and that's how fights and things could occur. But to them, it's the only way. But what if you walk in and not leading from alpha, leading from the back? And there's power in silence and there's power in different ways of how we handle things, how we say things, what we don't say, having compassion and empathy for another person or the situation instead of being in our own minds wanting to protect and defense from, so it's about how we perceive it and how we interact with other energies and other people.
You said something earlier in the podcast about being primal. I mean, do you think that's part of this primal, I don't want to say instincts, but, almost like genetic memories and like what our ancestors had to do?
I think we definitely have genetics, ancestral codes. Um, yeah. 1000%. Yeah. I lost what I was gonna say. I've had such a day today. I can't believe it.
Okay. It's okay. I understand completely. Well, I wanted to ask you about, like I said earlier, you've worked with some of my favorite actors like De Niro and Pacino and
Hmm.
like, I mean, and also one of my favorite shows, I know you were on Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I mean, what was that like? I know you've probably been asked that 1,000 times, but I'm curious about those.
Oh yeah, I mean they were great. They were awesome to work with. Wendy O'Brien cast me on the project. She's so sweet. It was great. It was legendary. I remember the hype everyone talked about. It's Always Sunny. I remember how everyone was just like, it's the new Seinfeld, and I wasn't really into Seinfeld. It was just kind of missed the boat on that one. But um, yeah, I was really proud and really excited to work with them. It would be awesome to work with them again, on a movie or a TV show or something. I look forward to it. I could definitely manifest for something like that to happen. Um, yeah, but everyone I worked with, it's been pretty incredible and a once in a lifetime experience. Like sometimes, like some of the things that's happened, you're manifesting, you're preparing, you're doing things, you're showing up, you're working, and you have ideas. And
Mhm.
then the universe brings you this gem, and it's like, whoa, I didn't even know that existed. Those unexpected gifts are such a pleasure.
Uh, I had somebody tell me the other day they didn't really believe in manifestation, but I kind of, yeah, and I go back and forth with it because just like you said that, you might be thinking something or say something out loud, and then, a week or two later, it actually becomes a reality and it hits you, or you get the opportunity. Like, wow, I didn't think this was like the universe just provided this for me, or however you want to say it. But it's just like, there's something to this, I think.
Okay. Where attention flows, energy goes,
Hmm.
or where energy goes, attention flows, right? So, like, think about that. We have 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day. 90% of those thoughts are the same thoughts, according to Dr. Joe Dispenza. So, if you're having all these thoughts and they're circling around, circling around, circling around, and they're the same thoughts, but you hack those thoughts and you shapeshift the script the script is a thought, and dismantle what you don't want by and what how do you it could be so confusing. Write down your thoughts. Yo, I just thought that. Yo, I just thought that. Oh, I'm thinking that again. Or like 10, and then you write them down and see what you're thinking. And be like, yo, I don't want to be thinking these things. I don't want to be thinking these things. So then you're like, I'm not going to think about these things anymore. You call it out. But then you're like 10 minutes later, like, yo, I'm thinking about that thing again. So you call it out and you keep calling it out till it dissipates, till it's not there. It's an energetic form script that does not serve you. You're vibrating at a lower vibration, but you replace it with things you do want,
Hmm.
not into the future, but into the now.
Do you-
Okay. Abraham Hicks, just two things. Abraham Hicks, amazing, right? She's on YouTube for free. You can do it every day, multiple manifestations. She has so many. She guides you through them. So you don't have to be in your head wondering if you're doing it right and going back and forth. Back and forth is the worst thing you can do. Caroline Mice, MYSS, she's a mystic intuitive. She talks about, going back and forth, 1 foot in the boat, 1 foot out of the boat, or 1 foot in this boat, 1 foot in that boat. It's the worst thing you can do. It's the worst thing. Like it's too much. You have to be all in or all out. You can't kind of maybe manifest and kind of maybe believe. You have the faith, you have your hope, you do or you don't, period. So you can do that with manifestation. Esther Hicks, Abraham Hicks is a person you can do it with. The other thing I wanted to mention where I lost it before was, about being primal, how you brought that back
Oh
up
yeah,
again.
yeah.
Yeah. So Don Miguel Ruiz, he wrote The Four Agreements, which is an amazing book.
I know that book.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. So he has another one called Mastery of Love, and it's one of my favorite books in the world. And he talks about how we're primal beings and how we're domesticated within our circumstances. So, and he talks about like the stories, like we're all just living stories from illusions. We're all just living stories. So even with the story you mentioned about someone who goes to Hollywood, da, 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 like that's just a story and that's just an illusion of who they are and the steps that one could take, right?
Mhm.
And so I'm living in quantum multiple stories. And so by me going and doing everything I've done thus far, I haven't just been living a linear life, right? I've been creating multiple quantum fields and portals, and I shapeshift and I jump through them. So I don't get stuck in the energetic patterns where it engulfs you, like it sucks you up like quicksand, and you get so wrapped into your patterns where you have those 60 to 70,000 thoughts that are the same. I like to move around a lot because got energy and motion. When people want you to dance, they want you to work out, they want you to go for a walk so you can move the energy. If
Yeah.
you're having a conversation with someone and it's heated, like if you go to the ice cream store or you go to Rite Aid, I'm not an affiliate, but if you go somewhere and you just move, you're going to shape shift the energy. Their energy is going to go somewhere else along their day. It's going to dissipate. It's not going to get so high. Same thing for you. And then you can have a new conversation on a new energetic level with that person, right? And if you keep meeting and firing and wiring with those things that aren't serving you, that's just a trigger within oneself to to do the work within. When someone triggers you, it's not F you, it's thank you. Tony Robbins says, it's not like, oh, didn't have a good relationship with his mother because she beat him. And he said he has a great documentary on Netflix, Tony Robbins. But and he says, like, I remember it was so impactful. He doesn't say F you to his mom, to the person who did all these things. He said, thank you, because those were his triggers and those are his lowest points in which he was able to shape shift and grow and, empower himself so he could empower other people because other people are suffering and hurting and halfway in, halfway out and doing this or not knowing and confused and just staying stagnant, like scared to make a choice, to really go for it because we're in this illusion of energy, stories, and social media. So to break out of all of that, to really break out of it, with the new canvas, Don Miguel Ruiz talks about that on Mastery of Love, and it's the best book you could gift yourself into another person.
Yeah, I just wrote that down in my notes here, so I want to check it out for sure. Because, like you said, I did check out the Four Agreements, and that was a really good book. I really got a lot out of that. But I'm amazed by just everything that you're saying. I mean, you seem like to really know yourself very well. I mean, is that just all from experience, just learning from mistakes that you've made? I mean, do you journal too and get your thoughts out? And you think about things, and I know you said you grew up with Greek philosophy and everything. Is that just all part of like all coming together as one and making one? One great Katie, I guess.
Oh, you're so sweet. Yes. And yes to all of what you said. And then I keep going and do it again. And I keep going and I just keep doing it. The thing is, I grew up running cross country, short term, medium term, long term goals. And so I'm Greek. So Nike, Nikki, those are the brand of shoes I wore. And it was like, victorious people. It means to win, Nikki, to win. And so my motto was just do it. So at a very young age, it was like the target, all or nothing, just do it. And so I've always had that go-getter attitude within myself. That was gifted to me, and that's one of my gifts. And I just follow that intuition because I follow that energy and there's a rush and it feels good. And I do it for good. And I do it for kindness. And I do it to put myself in a better situation without being emotionally attached to other people's sufferings and circumstances of what they want from me and what they think is best for me. Because a lot of times when you look at people and they're telling you what's best for you, are they happy with themselves? Are they to where they want to be? Like, who are you taking these advice from? Right. So, like, there's that theory of top five. Who are your top five? Right. And then seeking mentors of people you admire. Right. Not that you want to be them because you're you and they're them. And you can't do their story. And I don't want to do their story. And even if I wanted to do their story, like, for example, I like Madonna, right? Love Madonna. We're both from Michigan, all that jazz. But yo, what she was doing in like the 60s, 70s, and 80s and all that, like I wasn't even born. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and technology was different. So it's like for me to do what she did wouldn't work, right? And the
Sure.
and what other people are doing where they're blowing up, blah, 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 in ways. And they're like, oh, how do people do that so easy from social media? Well, it's a new technology and certain people know how just to get in there. Boom. It's like they're not programmed with the other stuff. So it's all about jumping into like I said earlier, like a quantum portal. Your whole life can change in 1 hour, like in an instant. Like you can literally like go to bed tonight and wake up and just totally change everything with if you're non-emotional, right? And you just pragmatically know what's good for you and then you show up and you actually do it for yourself instead of saying wait till New Year's resolution or wait till next month or I'm going to do it in 3 Thursdays from now. Like when you actually stop making excuses and you just show up for yourself, right? And I think that gives me my go-getter mentality from my dad because he put me in cross country running. And so it's cool with cross country because it's a team sport and it's an individual sport. And what you do as an individual affects the whole, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I ran a couple years of cross country in high school, and yeah,
Cool.
I don't have the body made for cross country. I'm a short and stocky little guy, so I'm not a
Really?
place for it. Yeah. So
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
just did it try to keep me in shape for the other sports, and I didn't take it as serious I should have. And also, I was a fuckhead back then, I guess too. But anyway,
But hey, while doing all that, you were in sports. So at least you were getting a lot of blood flow, oxygen to your brain and not off doing whatever, sitting around like a couch potato
uh,
with
uh,
friends. You were actually in the sport. So
yeah,
you were preparing yourself, your psychology for the game of life.
yeah. Even though sitting around eating Doritos and with my friends seems a lot more fun usually on those days. But anyway, but I like what you just said that like looking up the role models and stuff that you couldn't do, like what Madonna was, you couldn't do exactly step by step for what she did because that was Madonna and you are you. And, I've had to learn that myself because I used to look up to it. Well, I still do look up to certain role models. I was like, I got to do it like this. I got to do it like that. But it doesn't have to be exactly like that. You can kind of follow along their footsteps, but what you just said that you're still your own person. Like I'm Chris, my experiences in life and the way I do things is going to be completely different on how Katie did her things all the way up through life. And I don't know
Yeah.
if all people realize that.
Yeah. Well, like, for example, Joe Rogan comes to mind. It's like, I wanted to start my podcast 9 years ago. I didn't know how to get on the train tracks. Like, I would have been like way huger than Joe Rogan by now, right?
Yeah.
No kidding. And like, I think he's from Boston.
Yeah.
And he did stand up, and then I dabbled in stand up, and he did, I think martial arts. He did this kind of like fighting, and I ran cross country. And so I just liked his mentality. So it's like, those are things I identify. It's like, oh, I don't want to be Joe Rogan, but like I admire some of the things he's done, and I find similar traits. Like if we met, like maybe he would be on my show one day or I would be on his show, and maybe we could talk about stuff, or I would think we'd have interesting things to talk about from different dynamics, right?
Yeah.
But also it's like like if you admire someone, right, whoever that is, you don't need to be them or want to be them or envy them that or compare yourself that you're not them, but you can find out like 3 to 5 books or even one book that they read, and they can be your mentor. You could read a book where they go, that you could find out where they like to holiday and have the experience of like, oh, like they go to Hawaii, this is where my mentor likes to go, or this is the books. So you're getting into the sensorial mind body spirit of the person you admire, so you can grow to be that of whom you admire within your own self, right? And if we don't like ourselves, that's a great analysis and awareness to know that's where to start, right? If we don't like ourselves, how is anyone else going to like us? If we don't like ourselves, like,
I
how
agree.
are we going to be liking anyone? You know what I'm saying? So we need to get to this point where we like ourselves first. And like, I've been so mean to myself where, like, however I am to like my worst enemy, I've been like double, quadruple harder on myself, right? So I had to learn to stop self-inflicting and stop being so mean to myself. And that came from emotional abuse and trauma, you
Yeah.
know? So I had to, and then I allowed other people to be that way towards me. Even in the workplace, I would allow them to pressure me and put me in certain situations. You know, a female agent I had, she didn't, you know, I let her treat me in a certain way. I was a princess in her world, right? But if I did anything outside of that, you know, she would try to control me, right? And that's what people like to do. They're very happy and comfortable when you're complying in their bubble. But when you start to shift things around and they get upset, they're getting upset because, oh, he's not available as much as he used to be.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
he's not doing this thing. Oh, he's not paying for all these things he used to pay for. And they're going to start getting upset because they're comfortable with it. But you're changing. And we don't need to explain ourselves to other people when we change, right? We're only responsible for how we are and what we send. We're not responsible for how other people receive our truth.
That was very well said. I could agree more. That was great.
Well,
Um,
I got on a roll. I was like kind
yeah,
of
I didn't want to
drag.
interrupt you. You were good.
Well, no, what happened was when we first got on, like I had a day, and so like I had food, and I think you know when your blood flow, you slow down a little,
Oh
so I
yeah.
was a bit like out of it. I think my food was still digesting, and then I'm like, okay, and now I feel zoned in, so I got like zoned in.
Well, I know I want to be respectful of your time, but I got one more question, and
Yeah,
because you were talking about your philosophical background, and I just finished Sam Harris's book about free will and determinism, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it before we get off here.
sure.
If you believe in free will, or is it all predetermined, or whatever?
Uh, I love Sam Harris. I haven't read that book yet. I really like Sam Harris and his app, and I'm not an affiliate. I think determination is key to making your dreams be a reality. I feel we all have free will. Um, I feel the gift of life is free will because we chose to be here, if we understand that on a human level or not, and our experiences. I have an infinite divine knowing that we chose to be here, how we all are. Although circumstances are more difficult for some than others, but we're not bound by our circumstances. We're able to shape shift no matter how we do that. But you know, and not to say it's going to be all pretty and rainbows, you know, and I know there's hard things that people grow through, and it's different for all of us. And I just think it's important not to compare and judge when we look at someone else's free will, you know, because we don't know who they are and what they're growing through. Just
Mhm.
like people don't know who I am and what I'm going through. And I get not a lot, but sometimes like, oh, like you're in a bubble or something like that. It's like you have no idea, but thank you for sharing how you feel. It shows me your character and who you are, you know, where you're at. And I wish you the best on your spiritual journey, you know, because we're all on a journey.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I feel about free will. I know in other countries, you know, that aren't America, um, people are confined by those international circumstances. So I can't even imagine what that looks like and how that is for them. But in the realm of um, you know, free will, um, that's just from my experience so far.
Great, great. I say we take it home on that one. So if people want to find your book, I know you have music too, and if I find anything more about you or anything they want to promote or anything you want to promote, I mean, how would how do people do that and all that good stuff?
Yeah, yeah. My podcast is She's All Over the Place. So I have like 72 episodes up. So if you want to hear me ramble for 72 hours, that's a good place. Also, just my website, Chonacas.com. I just did a NFT drop, a collection with the Hey Lair team. It's a women empowerment platform. And I'm doing another drop next week
Ooh,
on Hey Lair too, of all my of some poems I did from the book A Lover's Fairy Tale. The poetry pieces are being released as NFTs, and so that's really exciting. I'm gifting the PDF to everyone who purchases an NFT. Gifting a percentage to a nonprofit that supports animals. My friend, who's the international photographer, Robert Sturman, who did all the photos on the original Polaroid, unfortunately just lost his pup Chai, and so we're gonna donate some proceeds to that nonprofit, and also I sponsored a child, Renalyn Era, and her family in the Philippines. Since I was 17 years old, I still sponsor her to this day. So I'm going to donate a proceed of the profits to Renalyn Era and her family too. So those are kind of the things I'm focused on right now: enriching, empowering others, and sharing my story on the blockchain all through, my experiences of entertainment.
that's great. I think all that's great. Especially you really have my attention at NFTs because that's been something I keep reading about a lot lately.
Oh,
I'm trying to get into those and
oh, yeah.
yeah, and this plus I've been well not hearing but seeing on Instagram how kids are making millions of all dollars just
Yeah,
buying and selling and
yeah,
the whole Board Aid Yacht Club and all that good stuff. So
yeah,
I,
yeah, it's very, very, very exciting. I onboard people into Web3. It's a mentality with ethics, not a pump and dump kind of thing. It's about, like, integrity and, like, really sustaining to build, like, for the generations to come and for us to be decentralized and have the power as artists, how you were saying at the beginning, like, I feel really good in my purpose of starting the podcast, and it's the first thing that I did for myself, and, that's how it is on the blockchain, and you can do it. I'm dropping my podcast as NFTs. I have an NFT podcast.
really.
Yeah, you can put all your podcasts as NFTs. There's so many different marketplaces you can put it. Yeah. Yeah. Anyone who wants to be in Web3 and blockchain and all that jazz. I'm doing this TikTok thing. I'm going to be giving information, steps and information on TikTok, which is Chonacas, my name. But yeah, reach out to me anytime, and things like that. So you definitely have to make a strategy platform, write down your intentions of, like, what you want to do on the blockchain, and there's endless opportunities, but it's really important for you. Do you have Twitter?
I do.
So there's called Twitter Spaces. Just get on Twitter and start listening. There's rooms happening 24 hours a day. There's multiple rooms happening right now.
Wait, I know what that is. I wasn't it kind of like Clubhouse?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Clubhouse and Twitter
Uh,
Spaces.
I
It's
have
where
heard of that.
everyone is. Yeah, everyone who's everyone in the industry. Like, I was just on with Paris Hilton the other day because she did her collection. I picked up one of her NFTs. Yeah.
Nice.
Uh-huh. Yeah, there are people in the mental health space, healthcare, nonprofit sectors, all onboarding into NFTs. I just picked up an NFT of this filmmaker, physical artist, and musician, where his physical art was one of the very few artists that's ever been to space, and his music has been to space and back. And I picked up one of his NFTs, and they work with these astronauts, and there's this African American astronaut, and she's the first African American poet to take her poetry to space and back.
Really?
Like, yeah, yeah. How cool is that, right? And
That-
I'm interested in space and astronauts and art and music and those things. So I collected it. There's only like 50 of the musician, and there's only 100 of the female poet, and they're not sold out yet. I'm like, yo, how is this not sold out? Because later on in life, when people look back, they're gonna be like, oh my goodness, like you were like right now, like even you talking about it, like people are buzzing about it, but it's still early. Like to get in and be a part of it,
yeah.
because it's like it's a legacy. It's funny. Some people, like, I'm just immersed in it. I got involved in 2018, so I've been in the space for a while now, and it's like Web3 is everything, because anything you wanted to do can happen. All the things I wanted to do, like publish my poetry book since I was 12. jumping through hoops. The traditional system that doesn't work, finding a book publisher for me, right?
Yeah.
Do they like my work? Is it like I'm like now I'm psychologically wondering, is my self-worth good enough? Are they gonna like my pieces? And then the matrix of the world is so disgustingly huge. Like, how do you connect the dots with the right people in Web 2? It's so difficult. But then I was able to self empower and release my poetry book. But when I was 12, there wasn't Amazon publishing, there wasn't, self publishing and Ingram and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
But there is now, so I was able to empower myself and do that. Well, on the blockchain, as a podcaster, musician, actor, any space, you don't even have to be an artist. You can put it on the blockchain yourself and get with a community of people who are like-minded, and everyone is willing to help. And if anyone tries to charge you money, run. If anyone tries to pull some scheme or scam and blah, 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 there are ways to get on the blockchain and pay no gas fees. And the collector who picks up the NFT pays the gas fees. Like, if
Oh,
I'm a collector, right? Those pieces I just told you, I'm a collector. Who would have thought I'm a collector? Yeah, you will become a collector too. It's things you will collect: video games, sports, boxing, like it's all on the blockchain, you
yeah.
know? And so, like board apes, you were mentioning board apes. Some of my
Mhm.
friends have some. And then six of them created the board apes sports, right? And it was like $3,000 in NFT or something. And it's not for me, but like my dad's into sports. Like, and it's a community of people who are into sports kind of things. And they have meetups and they have gatherings, but these are your people. So it's like, for me to gift that to my dad would be like an awesome gift, because like he would utilize it. He would meet up and talk shop with these people who are in the board ape space sports, because like it's his kind of thing. It wouldn't be mine. Just like if you're not into space, it wouldn't be yours. You know
Right.
what I mean? Or if art wasn't your thing. So you get to find out what's good for you. The lastly, because I'm rambling here, this is a whole nother podcast
Oh, you
episode,
did
but
great.
like, like 10 years ago or whenever, when they like did these um you don't have to print out the carbon, the paper, which is so toxic, right? When you get receipts and
Oh
you
yeah.
get the ticket, it's so very toxic, very dirty. But like there's an option to be paperless, to download the app and just to scan the QR code, that, and that just seems like normal, and some people still don't do it. It's like above their head, right?
Right.
Like some people don't. But it's like the way to do it. It's like, why print it out? I can check in an hour a day before, and I don't have to like worry about getting to the airport on time, all that stuff. So you can be already checked in. You're already checked in, and you just scan the QR code when you're going through the gate. That's how it's going to be when you go to restaurants, movies, like everything. You're not going to have to pull out cash. You're just going to have to swipe something
Yeah.
that you're connected to, and it takes it there. And I mean, they have it at luxury hotels now, where like you don't pay cash. You just show your room key or tell them your room key and everything's taken care of. It's better. It's better for the environment. It's better for the
Right.
people.
I agree.
It's sustainable, I think. So I'm very, very excited about the space.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, I've been dabbling a little bit in NFTs, but I bought one, but it was like through VV Collectibles. I don't know if you know that, but they did like a couple Marvel stuff. So
Cool. Congratulations.
yeah, that was my first one I did, and I'm just hanging on to it. It's
Yay.
just like a small comic book, but
And how did you pick it up?
you just went on that app, and then they released so many at a certain time, and you just hit the buy button. You just had to get lucky that it was going to come. You were going to get selected to get one.
Yeah. So you didn't set up a wallet. You like paid through PayPal or
No, yeah, I guess they have their own wallet. They call it gems inside their app. And you just put in like, I think I put in $10 and each comic's $6.99 or something.
cool. Yeah.
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 And
But
they
you
turn
collected it and it's fun, and you own that, and it's so cool, like
yeah,
yeah.
and you can resell it and stuff. But it was
Yeah.
kind of, yeah. But at first, as a reason, because it was only like $6, I was like, all right, I'll take a chance on this and see what I'm doing here before I go out and try to do anything bigger than this. But like it's just pretty cool. Like I got it right here. But
Dope. Very
yeah,
dope. Love
just
that.
something to dabble in. And like you said, that's what I'm like. All right, I'm learning. I don't want to take a big risk yet, and I kind of grow from there. Just like everything else in life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Just do your own research, keep showing up, keep listening, keep learning. Anytime you want to send me anyone like, hey, yo, this dude or something, or you want good resources, I can send you some links and stuff, and I'll put
Oh,
it on
for
my
sure.
TikTok too, of like good resources of people who they should follow and everything, well-respected people in the industry.
Great, great,
You just
cool.
want to make sure you're learning like the correct way the first time, instead of like learning from people who don't know and then like You know, that then, and because that's what I see. We already see it, and the community calls people out like immediately. It's a very protective community.
Good.
They call people out. Hmm. Yeah. So cool,
Yeah,
cool.
just like you said, you don't want to learn from somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, and you just go complete downhill from there and lose almost
Yeah.
everything you have. So, but anyway,
Yeah.
like I said, I want to be respectful of your time, and I at least want to give you some time so you can go do whatever you got to do after this and all that good stuff. And you already
Yeah.
promoted your stuff. And anything else you want to say before we hop off here?
Just Chris, I'm so grateful that you had me on, and thank you. I really appreciate you. And if you're in LA or New York, definitely look me up. We can meet up in person.
That sounds great. We'll get one of them adult privileges or something. All right, people, everyone be good to yourselves. We're out here. Thank you for listening and all that good stuff. See ya.
Ciao.